Welcome friends to my very first video. Today we are working on a previous sketch that I had drawn up to perform power carving and pyrography on. This drawing needed to be edited to better suit physical material rather than a two-dimensional drawing. So I wanted to show the creative process in its entirety with starting with the sketch. This existing drawing, I made some notes on it. It just needs to be larger for the process that I'm going to be taking it through, which is power carving, or carving around it to accentuate it. So I would like to say that this is my first design, what you can partially see on the screen being wind chimes. And right now we are using Paint Tool Psi. I'm just pulling apart this drawing so that I'm able to get it to the right dimensions to translate properly onto a 3D piece of material, that being wood. Right now I am working to enlarge some of the items on the sketch so that it will be easier to carve around them. This sketch does not have to be perfect. All I'm trying to do is get a good concept for a stencil that I can reuse over time for future projects. I partially may have been in over my head with attempting to do a stencil like this. There's a lot of small parts, a lot of fine detail that, because I'm a novice, I've missed out on, but I was once told by somebody that if it's not interesting, don't do it. And some of the simpler things that I could have chosen to do just weren't all that interesting to me, so I decided to pursue what I was interested in. So here is the final stencil for now, and there is my old stencil that I originally did with some notes, just to make improvements on it. And here is my first power carving of that stencil. I kind of did it in reverse. So I did the power carving on the outside, and I did the pyrography on the uppermost part, so the parts that are sticking out. But I made some changes, and hopefully this will translate better to a 3D object. I'm actually going to be using the back of this previous project. Waste not, want not when you are training. So from here we're going to be cutting the stencil out. I'll be leaving a space next to it so that I can add notes if necessary. How we're transferring it is we'll be using carbon paper. This stuff is wonderful with transferring. There's two sides to it. So there's the shiny side which has the carbon on it, the other side which doesn't. So you want to place the carbon side down. I've actually already used this one, so I was impressed that you could get multiple uses out of it. You're going to line it up properly, and once you have it where you want, you can tape it if you want. I didn't need it because it was so small. Go ahead and get a pen or pencil, and with movie magic, in under 2 seconds, I have transferred the image. Isn't that incredible, folks? What's also good about this is it doesn't smudge easily. I mean, if you really push down on it, it will. Alright, so from here is where I believe I made mistake number 1. Other power carvers or artists may have seen other mistakes along the way before this, and please leave a comment down below if there's something that I can improve upon. But Sharpie on wood was not a great idea, and later on in the video you will see why. I know that making thick lines for carving is a great idea because you can always remove material, you can't add any more. So thick lines are best, but don't use a Sharpie, folks. Alright, here are some bits that I'm going to start with. I'm going to go with the ball bit. This is great for removing a good amount of material. I'm going to do my best to use nice sweeping strokes, not too deep. As the pros like to say, let the tool do the job. So we're just going to take off the first layer. You want to keep it as cohesive throughout the carving as possible, so you don't want to go too deep in some areas. The ball burr or bit, I'm not quite sure of the lingo just yet, still learning that, is definitely one that I will continue to use throughout this project. I'll try some other ones, as you'll see soon enough, just to test them, to get a good feel for them. But the ball burr is wonderful at keeping consistent depth while also removing enough material. Here I am switching to a gently rounded, tapered bit, which I found a bit of a struggle to use it would jump out of the walls that I had created. So ultimately I did go back to the ball bit. That was something I'm more familiar with, but I'll have to learn better application for the other bits that are included in the kit that I have. I also switched to, this is a pointed bit. This was very helpful at getting into the nooks and crannies for here in the center of the wind chime, where I had the, I don't know what that's called, something that hits the chimes. So that was very useful. I also decided to try and use these micro ball bits for some of the more intricate designs, some of these smaller parts that I had to carve out. And this was my first time trying these, and I was actually very impressed with the depth and the precision that it had. At this point, I had decided that I was pleased with the amount of material that I had removed using the burrs, and thus began the sanding portion, which you do want to always sand your pieces. That's how you get it smooth. You want to sand in the crevices that you create as well. But ultimately, this is where I realized my mistake of using the Sharpie. It had bled into the soft wood, which made it very, very difficult to remove. Lots of hand sanding. I eventually did decide to remove some more material because the Sharpie was just too dense for me to hand sand. I wasn't too happy with needing to remove more material, but like I had said earlier, the lines were large, so I knew that I still had, I could still remove material and not suffer or not have too terrible of a loss with this project. Alright, so now we are on to the detailing portion of the video using the pyrography kit. This kit comes with a variety of tips to use as well as accessories that assist you with using the kit. The sponge that I showed is actually to help you clean off the tips. And this is the first tip I'm going to be using. It's a shading tip. I honestly find this part of the project very soothing to do as well as to watch. It really is just similar to coloring in the lines. It does put off not too much smoke, but a little bit, so you want to have some sort of ventilation. I do have a fan that works to suck out some of the fumes that I'm creating while I'm burning the wood. I will be honest, when I bought this kit, I was a little intimidated by having to use something that was super heated, but the more I used it, the more comfortable I got with it. Just keep your fingers away from the tip and you'll be perfectly fine. You also need to know, and that takes practice, the amount of pressure and how fast you can go. Power carving and pyrography has taught me to slow down and just be comfortable with your strokes. Here I have switched the tip, and you always want to test your tips before you go in and use them. Make sure that it's hot enough, adjust the heat. My pyrography kit has a dial that you can turn the heat up or down. This tip was great for those fine details and getting into the smaller crevices that I had used for that, that I'd created with that smaller ball burr. And this just added some definition to the piece.
By now. What have I told you?
All right, I guess I wasn't thinking.
You weren't thinking? You mean you'll work on engines and machinery and not think of your own personal safety? Here, shake hands with danger.
Here I am switching to a flattened tip that is good for shading or feathering effects, which I'm going to attempt to do here. I consider myself somewhat decent at drawing. I can look at something and capture its image pretty alright. At least you can understand what I'm trying to draw. There's definitely room for improvement, and I believe every artist can agree with me on that. No matter how many years you've put behind it, there's always something that you want to improve upon. So, quick recap on what I've learned today. Slow down and enjoy the process. Don't use Sharpie on wood. 2D drawings don't always transfer well, and you want to make adjustments as needed. And in the wise words of Bob Ross, there are no mistakes, only happy accidents. Alright, so here is the finished piece. And here is the original piece that I worked on. I want to thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment. I would really appreciate to hear feedback from you all. And tune in next time to see what my future projects will be.
That control by accident. You'd be mincemeat by now.